Hey everybody, welcome to another hobby break. It's been a little while since I did one of these. I've got something real special to show you today, and one of the reasons it's special is because it has to do with my favorite game from 2018, which is Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, and it's actually terrain for this board game. And so in the intervening time since having reviewed and played the game some more and talking about the game initially, I did have a chance to finish the Blackstone Fortress novel. And one of the cool and I recommend this, by the way, if you haven't read it. It's kind of like a prequel to the game. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about the novel is it gives you a real vivid description of the Blackstone Fortress itself, which is a giant spaceship that has kind of a mind of its own, and there's tricks and traps and stuff all throughout the ship. And so it really kind of evokes a lot of the, different things that you're going to come across in the game. And so a husband and wife couple out of Australia, they have put together terrain files that you could download and print on your 3D printer, but they've also started to print and sell the terrain themselves, which is what I have. I don't have a 3D printer, so they sent me a set here of terrain pieces to add on, and it really livens up the board. It looks great. It looks awesome. So one of the cool things is if you have a 3D printer, you can go and get it, download, print the files. Or if you don't, like myself, you can go and get the files there. I'm going to show you kind of finished painted ones that I worked on last weekend. But if you're interested in these files, I'm going to put links to the various different websites here. I'm also going to have a code for getting 15% off of these pieces. So I'll flash the code up here on the screen now, but you can also check the description on YouTube as well. So that'll get you 15% off. So the stuff I'm going to show you here, that comes to about $40 for US. So I'm not sure what that would come to other folks, but it's about $40 US, give or take, depending on the exchange rate and all that stuff. But they've got a lot of extra stuff. There's like a bunch of sci-fi terrain. So if you're playing like Warhammer 40K or something, they've got a lot of that stuff. They actually have sort of like replacement boards, which are really super fancy. It's like all the boards that you get in this game, but blown up. The whole thing is 3D. So it's kind of like blown up versions of the 3D pieces you're going to see here. It's obviously a little bit more expensive, well, a lot more expensive, but it's really tricked out and fancy. The other link that you're going to see in the description is a link to the Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress Facebook group, where in addition to folks, sharing all the miniatures they're painted and asking roast questions and just kind of generally having a good time with the game, folks have started to get into these, and this is where I heard about it, and start to show some of their painted terrain miniatures and so on. So if you want to go there and get some ideas and stuff, it's a really great Facebook group, and people speculate on what's coming out and stuff for the game. But let me jump down here and I'll show you kind of my finished terrain pieces, and just so you can get a kind of a sense of what the end product's going to look like, and then we'll just go from there. So I went ahead and just kind of set up a map here. This is sort of like one of the maps on the encounter cards in the game, but I added some extra bits just to kind of get more of the terrain pieces out. So now let's just take a quick look at what that looks like. So there you go. You can see a lot of the terrain that comes in the kit. There's some others that aren't on here because each of these terrain pieces is specifically designed for these different tiles that come in the board. So let's kind of zoom in to get a little closer. So if we scoot this one out here, you can see this has some cover features that are built in here with these solid white lines, and these are specifically designed to be used just on this side of the board. If we flip it over, then there's other pieces that will work with that. So for every cover feature, or actually kind of line of sight blocking or wall feature, let's say, he has a piece. So it'll cover everything that you get in the game, no matter what scenario you get. And then of course, some of these special single tiles that are used in a variety of different scenarios, he's got terrain features for those as well. So like I said, some of these are just cover and others are complete blocking. So if you remember from the game, anything with a red kind of outline around it, that's considered, as high as you can go. So all of these pieces are taller than the miniatures, whereas pieces like this and then this little guy here that are just cover, you can still move across them, according to the movement rules of the game. Those are always about like half height compared to some of these taller ones. So it's very easily discernible which is cover and then which of course is just a complete blocker. And he's really done a good job of sort of blowing out, the little 2D representation into a 3D. So you just got this kind of spirally, diamond-ish kind of triangular shape. And so he's blown that out into a full-on 3D piece there. And it gives you a good sense of, how you might want to paint it and stuff. You can see there's a lot of kind of blues and purples and reds, and there's, kind of a little glowing effects and stuff. The other thing here is he's got these door pieces. There's 6 of these. And so you can see you're going to come in here on the little elevator there and kind of walk through there. And some of the potential elevator exit points on the levels, you can go ahead and slap down doors like that. And there's a nice variety of things. So, you saw these kind of craggy rock-shaped pieces there. Well, this one has this kind of strange triangular formation there. So this is really kind of like the fortress itself, the walls and the floors and the ceilings of the floor kind of coming alive and, creating these different kind of weird formations, like this sort of weird cube here that has a hole in it. That's kind of, you can see the little sort of different strange structures and slats and things kind of growing out of it. And this piece is kind of nice. It's actually made up of 2 pieces. There's a special kind of openable door tile that you can, in the game, you flip it up or down, but this, you can just have this kind of slide in or out there. And that's a pretty cool little addition. As well as you can see this kind of barricade in the back there. So there's a ton of variety of pieces. And like I said, it matches everything that comes in the game. And of course, if you wanted to get some of the bigger ones where he takes these actual boards here, all of these different boards, and then he blows these up with these kind of terrain features built into them in this sort of thick 3D print. And the hexes on that board are a little bit bigger because, as you know, sometimes you're going to get multiple characters on a particular hex space, and it gets a little bit crowded there when you start to fill that up. They don't quite fit perfectly on these hexes like so. So if you wanted to play on a bigger board with, kind of textured floors and things like that, you could really get in and do a lot of dry brushing and washing on and just make the game look crazy amazing. He's got all that stuff available too. And over here off to the side, these are just some of the pieces that I don't have the boards for. They're, it's on the other side of the boards because I've used just about every single thing in all the tiles in the game, except for some of these individual ones here. So these are just all the pieces that you're going to get, including these off to the side there. And I'll go ahead and throw up some of the images of some of those bigger boards and some of the images of what they kind of look like before you prime them and paint them and all that kind of stuff, just to give you a sense. But again, you're going to get, if you use the Drive-Thru Games code, which is going to be in the description and on the screen again, then you can get 15% off of this stuff. And again, you've got the site where you can go and buy the files yourself and print them out. Or if you don't have a printer like myself, then you can go and order them from them directly. I do know there's a little bit of a backlog of a couple of weeks before they can usually get to an order. Definitely contact them just to get that clear, so your expectations are what they should be in terms of the time frame of getting them delivered to you. And definitely also take a look at some of the other products that they have. They have some really cool stuff. He mentioned that they're going to try to come out with some stuff for the Warhammer Underworlds, the Age of Sigmar skirmish game, as well as some other games. And I could definitely see some other games, like games like Descent or Claustrophobia or Imperial Assault, or any other kind of more dungeon crawly type of game where you have this sort of 2D representation of terrain and cover and line of sight blocking, and really blowing that out like we've got here. It really gives you a full sense of playing a miniatures game or a really well done kind of RPG table and that whole thing. So definitely take a look at this stuff. I highly recommend it. I'm really, really happy with it. Again, this is my favorite game of last year, so I was more than excited to kind of bling it out and kind of commit to the game a little bit. And so for longevity purposes, I'll be able to come back to this over time, and it'll be a great experience with all this kind of cool stuff on the table. So that is that. Again, check the links, and thanks.